This week in our Accounting 101 financial accounting class, we're going to be continually doing an exercise with adjusting entries, as well as we're going to introduce this newer topic, correcting journal entries. As an accountant, you will find many mistakes that a lot of your clients may bring you, so it's very important to be able to know how to do a correcting entry. So remember, an adjusting entry is something you do at the end of a period, like the end of a quarter or the end of a month. And they're just necessary things that have to be done. A correcting entry is done when there was a mistake. And the first thing I have up here for correcting entries is you never want to go back and just simply erase the incorrect entry. It may look like there was some attempt to cover something up or fraud. So you always want to go in and do a correcting entry if there is a mistake. And usually you probably would want to note it right below your journal entry to show why you did what you did. And the incorrect date that was associated. Like for example here, on December 23rd, this was our transaction. We completed a service and received cash of $1,200. Well, whoever was doing the journal entry got some of it right, but missed the credit. As you can see here, what did the business get? We completed a service and got cash, so the debit was right, $1,200. However, the credit was to the capital account like the owner invested money, and that wasn't the case. We actually did our service. So the credit here should have been service revenue. Well, we need to go ahead and update our books to amend the correction. So if we don't, capital is of course going to be too high, and our revenue is going to be too low because we haven't done anything with our revenue. So we need to correct this. The easiest way, and that's the way I'm going to show you first, is to simply reverse the incorrect entry. So the incorrect entry was just the reverse of this. So we want to go back and pretend like it never happened. And how we do that in accounting, remember, we don't want to erase, is we're simply going to debit now our capital for $1,200 and credit our cash for $1,200. That will zero out those accounts for the mistake that happened. And then note that we're ready to do now our correct entry for that period, which was December 23rd. It really should have been a debit to cash of $1,200, which we originally had, and a credit to our service revenue instead of the capital. Now, as you can see with this is the easier way. It's not too hard to comprehend what's going on, but it does create a little redundancy here by debiting and crediting our cash account and just having an extra number in there. If you want, and in some cases like this where there's only one item that's incorrect, you can do what I'll call method number 2, and basically you're cutting out that middleman. Since these two will counteract each other, we're going to simply just debit our capital to get rid of that incorrect capital credit, and then put in the credit that should have been there, the service revenue for $1,200. So that's kind of here's the easier method. It has a little bit of extra work, but possibly it's the one that can be understood a lot easier. This one just gets you there to the final answer a little quicker. Now, in my second example, this one, both of the accounts are wrong. So when both of the accounts are wrong, it's just easiest to go ahead and do method number 1. So let's look at here what happened. We received cash for a service to be done in January, so next year, for $800. Well, we recorded the entry on the 29th for a promise to be paid from our customer Joe for the service done. Well, for one, we didn't get a promise to be paid. We actually got paid, so we know the debit's wrong. And the credit was for a service to be done next month, so we can't count that as revenue. We have to count that as unearned revenue. And so both of our debit and our credit are incorrect. So in that case, all I want to do is go back and do my method number 1, reverse the incorrect entry. So we're going to debit the revenue, credit my receivable. This will zero out the incorrect items, and then provide the correct entry. And to show that, yes, we did get money, and we got it because we owe a service to our client. The last item I have here is where the right accounts were used. However, the numbers were flipped. So here we recorded a payment to one of our vendors, Leah's Store, for $3,200 to reduce our account balance. Notice the accounts were correct. However, when we looked back at the check, it wasn't really for $3,200, it was really for $2,300. So the current balance for Leah's account that we still owe shows $600, but that can't be right because we made a mistake. So what I want us to do is not only to do the correcting journal entry, but what is the correct balance to that ending account payable for Leah's. All right, so I'm going to revert here back to method 1 and do a reverse entry. So the reverse entry, if we want to think about it, if the right accounts were used, it may help here in this process to think, what was the journal entry, the incorrect one, that was used back on the 23rd of December? And well, what we got was a reduction of our debt. So we would have debited our account payable to Leah for $3,200. And why did we get a reduction of our debt? It was because we paid cash. So our cash would have went down by $3,200. Well, now I want to go ahead and reverse that. And so instead of crediting my cash, I want to go ahead and put it back in my cash, raise my cash back up, put that amount back on account to Leah, the $3,200. So right now, if I was looking at Leah's account, I owed $600. That's what I showed on my T account. Now I'm putting that $3,200 back on. So now I'm back up to where I started, which now we can tell was at $3,800 is what I owed Leah's. Now I'm going to go in and do the correct entry and show that, all right, now what I really got was a reduction on my account payable, but it was only for $2,300. And I want to credit my cash for the $2,300 that I actually paid. And so the balance of my account payable to Leah was the $3,800 minus what it really should have been, $2,300, leaving me with only $1,500 remaining in the debt. Okay, in my next video, we're gonna actually do some practices with combining adjusting entries and these correcting entries, and that will be the Julie's example numbers 8 and 9. So that would be the next video you will want to watch. I will see you at that point.